So 3, 2, 1, welcome, Kylie, all the way from across the U.S. Hi, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Kylie. I am a mom of 3 little boys. I have a 5-year-old and twins that are 3. And I am also a health and wellness professional. I'm a personal trainer, group fitness trainer, and I'm working towards getting my doctorate in physical therapy. So lots of things going on over here. I'm from Arizona, and I'm looking forward to a great discussion.
Yes, ma'am. So the biggest thing, I mean, there's a lot of things I think that you have to share. And I just checked out your very graphic surgery photos. No, I have a stomach for this, so I'm very happy that I didn't see it when I was looking. But I'm happy that you posted those. It's amazing. I'm going to include a link here for people to see, because I also was in the fitness industry for basically the last 10 years. And I have a little one who's 6.5 months now. And when I had her, it's in the midst of COVID. I'm in New York City, so the fitness industry is basically shut down. And it's been really interesting postpartum, during COVID, I could totally see how the postpartum depression, the baby blues, how all that stuff sets in for most women if they don't have some sort of support system or any of this, because it's a crazy time if you don't have, a really strong knit circle. So anyhow, that's totally a whole nother point. But my point is you've been through a lot. So
yeah. Well, I have to first of all say props to you. I cannot imagine having a child during COVID right now. Like, just having a baby in general is so shocking to your system, and then having it while you're in shutdown and quarantine and in New York City. I mean, I'm props to you, because I can't imagine what you went through. But yeah, so I did go through a lot with just the shock of having twins so close to having my first child. So I had a 1-year-old, and then I got pregnant again, because 1-year-olds, they trick you. I don't know if you know this. They trick you, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. I love having babies and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, so let's try for another one. And then they turn 2, and you're like, well, what the heck was I thinking? So, yeah, I got in the sweet spot, and I had another one, but didn't plan to have twins. So when I was very shocked when that ultrasound came up with 2 babies. And so just going through all of those emotions, and realizing that my life would be forever changed by having 3 boys under the age of 3. And it was a shock to my system for sure as well, but I cannot imagine dealing with it during COVID.
Honestly, truly, I mean, I like to see the good, but I think that it's been a huge blessing, because people are much more cautious about your space. People are not, interface being, because I've heard crazy stories about people sticking their finger in babies' mouths saying they need a pacifier, really being obnoxious. And for the most part, people just leave us alone. And it's been nice because I've gotten to know her. It's been weird because we don't have like a nanny or babysitter. So my husband and I always just juggle back and forth between her. And it's like people here for the most part take the train. So it's like, how do you even go about finding a nanny now? Because it's such a...
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, my support system is everything, my family. And so for us personally, we've expanded our quarantine bubble just to be with our immediate family at least. My parents live nearby, part of the reason why I live in Arizona. And they're just completely 100% there for me all the time. And it's necessary. But I worry, I mean, of course, I'm sure you do as well. my parents are vulnerable to the coronavirus, and it's hard because you have these kids that like pick up germs everywhere.
Yeah.
And then they're exposed to my parents. So we've been trying to keep our bubble as close as tight knit as possible. But with my son going back to school, my oldest son going back to school, it's just been a little bit scary. And I can imagine what the emotions you're going through as well.
Yeah, it's a weird time, and hopefully it will, slowly just go back to normal sooner than later. We'll see. Okay, so I didn't realize that they were so close together, your little ones. Were you breastfeeding when you got pregnant?
No, actually,
You stopped, okay.
I had a really hard time breastfeeding with my first child. He was actually born in Okinawa when we were overseas with the military. And so, like, just the transition of all of that and all the stress and pressure of being overseas and all these things happening, I didn't have a great breastfeeding experience with him. When the twins came, I did my darndest to breastfeed, and I did last like 6 months with them.
Wow, that's so long. That's incredible.
Well, I give it up to any women that breastfeed. It was hard. It is hard. And so, especially with two, but definitely with any children, it's difficult. Yeah. But I tried my best. And there's pictures to prove it. There's things that I posted about it. And I mean, it's, I talk about this a lot on my page, that breastfeeding and motherhood is supposed to be this most natural thing and most beautiful thing. But the secret, like, silence of, like, all the pain and suffering we go through, I think it needs to be talked about more, and just the things that we have to experience as mothers, the sacrifice that we make. And I understand that, like, throughout history that women have been doing this, and that women have to keep going with motherhood, and there's been so many sacrifices made, but we don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about the truth and the reality of the situation, and just to normalize the fact that that it's okay to have these feelings, that it's difficult, and we can't be just suffering in silence and being so isolated from one another, because that's what makes it even more difficult, I feel.
100%. It's in addition to that, which, I mean, and it's something that obviously we all know, but it's not like you don't get an award, you don't get a salary, you don't get any, pat on the back or something. Oh, you got spit up all over today and you kept your kid alive. And I think that it's and my husband and I have such a great foundation in our relationship, but once I had her, I realized just how different the male and female are. Like, we are just so different, and no matter how much he could help or be there to support, he just couldn't actually understand. Because aside from how difficult it is on a daily basis, it's, there's hormones and there's so many other things just surging through our bodies that they could try to understand and they could try to be empathetic, but that's also something that differentiates male to female, is that females are more empathetic and males aren't. So they just couldn't really get it. But also the other, to your point, is talking about it, openly communicating. And I think that women in general, and I'm the first to admit, I have a hard time asking for help. My hands are full and I'm trying to do this and that, and my husband's like, and I'm like, nope, I got it. And I'm like, no, actually, sorry, you're right, you should have helped me. But supporting women. And I think that for whatever reason, it's so many women are judgmental, and they, whether you breastfeed, you don't breastfeed. And I was asking about breastfeeding, not because I have a preference, but because they say you don't get pregnant when you're breastfeeding. Oh, so that's why I was asking. But I know someone who just got pregnant and she was breastfeeding the whole time. And she was like, I wasn't supposed to get pregnant because I've been breastfeeding. And she's pregnant. That's why I was asking. But yeah, I really, really wish, and I hope to spread a little bit more women's empowerment, a woman helping each other rather than dissing and putting each other down, because I just don't get Like, women know how hard it is. So why?
Yeah, I was gonna say to your point, going further than just not getting recognized for doing what we do every day, we actually get mom shamed. So you're getting put into this box that like you're lazy if you don't work, or you're doing this and wrong, or however society sees you. You're getting that additional pressure on top of the daily grind of changing diapers and breastfeeding and all the fun stuff that comes with motherhood. But yeah, I think it's an additional pressure, especially now with social media. And then seeing on social media, which I think with my first son especially, I didn't even know like the reality of what postpartum was supposed to look like. I just see these like women and celebrities and all these people on social media that are like, oh, I got my baby body back, or my post baby body all perfect and everything's great, and I'm doing this and that, and thinking to myself, oh, okay, is this normal? Like, I looked down at my belly. Even with the first, I had, stretch marks and an umbilical hernia, and not understanding that, like, you don't come out of postpartum like the day after having a baby without having some kind of bump still there. Like, you're like, whoa, I thought my stomach goes back to normal. Literally, no one told me that before having a baby. And those are the things that I want to bring up in social media to remind people that like there's a reality of the situation that people never talk about.
It's so true. I remember, like in the hospital, they gave, and one of my girlfriends, or maybe I saw it on social media, I don't know where it came from, but someone recommended the Freedom Mom Kit, and it had all the diapers and, the ice packs and the perineal wipes and all this. And thankfully, I just got it on a whim because I was like, well, if I use it, I use it. But if I don't, then, I'll gift it to someone. And I went through like basically 5 packs of those. Like because I ended up having an episiotomy. So like I was living in diapers for like 2 weeks. And no one ever, like, why? I remember my husband being like, is that normal? And I'm like, I don't know what's normal. I don't care. This is the most comfortable thing for me. Deal with it. And it's like, and they don't know. They're just asking questions. And it was so funny because we would talk about it. And I'm like, babe, I don't know. Like, it's so hard to find truth on social media that I don't know. And that was just my answer for, even now with things with her. I'm like, I don't know. Like, we'll figure it out.
It's like this, the people like our mothers and other people want to paint this beautiful picture of motherhood, but they forget all the details, the minor details. You're like, oh my gosh, is this normal? Or am I going to bleed to death? Or is this like, all of those little gruesome details that you have to go through, and nobody talks about them, so you're not sure. So yeah, it's pretty confusing, and going further than that, like going into our women's healthcare system in general, especially in America.
Mm-hmm.
And now like I'm 5 years from having my first child, and so things have changed a lot. Like you said, being able to get some more resources, like even before, when I was like 5 years ago, social media wasn't as much of a help for motherhood or anything like that. But it might be that there's more people like me talking about it, or I'm just more sensitive to seeing those things. So I'm not sure what it is, but I feel like 5 years past now, we have more information and more advocation of women's health and things like that. But really, looking from my perspective, looking out at women's health care in general across the world, now I can see in social media across the world that there is more resources out there than America has. So, and that
or they're giving us for whatever reason.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, whether it comes down to maternity leave or maternal care, those things are a big deal. Hold on one second. Sorry. Mama, I want the tea. I want the drinks. I want apple juice. Okay, I'll be right there, okay? You want to say hi? Hi.
Hello. So this is the reality.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's totally okay. Hi, little guy. So I think that the more that I'm diving into this, the more that I'm seeing and speaking with like midwives and, learning where the obstetrics have come from and why it was medicalized, because it's such a natural thing. There's really no need that it should be a medical thing, but it is, for money, profits, whatever the real reason is. I feel like all we can really do is communicate as women, and also, arm ourselves with knowledge so we can be aware of the reality during and postpartum.
And I think it's very dysfunctional in the way that we don't work together in the medical field. Like, there's not enough collaboration to support women. So there's like, and one thing that I went through with my twins, and you might be able to attest to this too, is that we're fit people, we're healthy people. And so automatically my doctor assumed like, oh, you're fine, you're going to be fine, nothing's wrong with you, you can do it yourself. And I'm like, no, I need help. Like, I need a pelvic floor therapist. Like, I don't yes, I don't have the ability to do that for myself.
Correct.
So it's kind of frustrating when they just look at you and assume that you're healthy, you're fine, and don't go deeper into here's the other specialist that might be able to help you with some of the issues that you're feeling, and that even, I think that even went through with like postpartum depression. They're like, oh, you're fine, you know what to do, just exercise and you'll be fine. And it's like, no, I mean, I need help. So there's so many, like, it feels like loops to jump through, and advocating for ourselves instead of being able to have a baby and then get the support and comfort that you need. Like it should be expected, I feel like, but it's not.
It should be. It's almost like when you leave the hospital, they give you the pamphlet with, the breastfeeding information and all the information. They should give you a pamphlet with resources in your area for pelvic floor specialists, for even, to the degree of plastic surgeons or whoever, if you are interested in these things, because they never did a DR check on me. I don't know if they ever did on you, but actually none of the women I've ever met has a doctor actually done a test to see if they have any sort of diastasis. Like, and I have taken pre and postnatal certification, so I know how to do the check. But every woman I've ever trained, or any of my girlfriends, they said their doctor has never done it. And it's like, how?
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
One of my twins just ate a whole bag of Sour Patch Kids, and I have no clue where he found them.
Believe me, I don't have twins. I have one, and I cannot have her here, so I get you.
Well, yeah, and I guess we could talk about how COVID, like you said, with the with New York shutting down, and we had the same experience. I lost my job. I was a fitness director at the YMCA locally. Just lost it completely as soon as everything shut down. And now I went from having full-time daycare to being a stay-at-home mom, teaching my kid at home, and doing all those fun things by myself. So
it's insane. It is insane. Believe me, I feel like this year has, like, and I'm just looking at, everything just flipped. And I think being in the fitness industry is tough because, especially for moms, wives, because for me, my husband, and let me preface this, my husband is the most supportive partner more than I would ever dream of, but he just expects that I can bend and flex and, do around whatever his schedule is. And it was my fault because and I think that women in general tend to do that. Like, okay, what do you need? I will be flexible and I will figure it out. So then adding a baby to it, and now the fitness industry is all bonkers here. So it's like, I have I stopped doing any sort of training, but I do programming, and I do nutrition, like health and wellness type stuff for like any of my old clients that I would continue a relationship with. But it's like, I'm so flexible that he just expects me to always be flexible.
Exactly. So now I know, and I hear this a lot from women in our industry as well as like women in general, but we're now expected to be full-time moms and work from home because you're still working. You're just finding the time outside of when your baby's sleeping or whenever, and you're being a stay-at-home mom. And now we're like, oh, well, our husbands, not that they mean badly, but it's like, now you're home. So like my husband, it's part of the problem is, I lost my income as well. So we're like, okay, well, we're not going to have our housekeeper come anymore. And so you're going to clean the house.
Yeah.
You're going to do this and you're going to do that. So it's a lot of pressure for sure.
It is. Go ahead. Take your time.
He poked my eye. He poked your eye? Oh, no. Oh, that one. I'm sorry. Hey, leave me alone for a second.
And I think that it's truly a cyclical effect in the sense of you're so busy doing all these things. It's not like you have time, because searching for a job is full time. It's not like, even if you said to yourself, okay, I'm going to get a job and I'm going to get my source of income back that will be helpful. But then, and create a little sanity for myself, even if it's a part-time job, it's like you just don't have time because you're constantly just trying to keep up with whatever you're doing, which they don't understand because they're not there to, like, how could they?
Yeah. And the mental load and everything else is just, it's so stressful. And then finding how, like, childcare, like, I'm not going back to work because then what, so, yeah, it's a lot to take on for motherhood right now, and I can't imagine what you're going through as well. I know that I've struggled through this, and I mean, just the fact that, like, I stopped. I was teaching, like 8 classes a week or more, and doing personal training and doing full-time fitness, everything, and then literally stopped everything, and I just got into such a funk with that, and just now barely trying to get out of that, like feeling like, okay, I can go back to fitness and I can do my own programming and things like that. But it is a grind.
It's
just
tough.
To keep that positivity.
I mean, and I think that the fitness world in general is tough. It's a constant grind. I mean, and I'm sure it's the same with you. Even when I was pregnant, literally everything shut down when I was like 8 months pregnant. And I was teaching 18 classes a week plus my personal training, and I was up at 4:30 every day. And you have you go until 8 or 9 or whatever it is, and you're on this constant grind. So everything just came to a screeching halt. And it's like, now what?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I remember the days where like my littles were really little, and I went back to fitness, but my husband, I couldn't afford daycare at that point, so my husband's working during the day, and I was the 4 a.m.er and the 5 and the 6 p.m.er, and just like teaching on those times. Oh my gosh, it's such a grind. For sure. But hopefully we can use this as an opportunity, like you're doing online programming and things like that as well, because I think that's a lot of the future of some of the fitness, at least to get by for now. But still, we're programming late into the night, and I'm ignoring my children when I should be, doing this or doing that. But you have to find those pockets of time that work for you.
Definitely. Okay, so obviously we could talk about this for a long time, but I want you to tell a little bit about your surgery. If you're comfortable with him there, I don't know if you are.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Whenever.
Okay, so I just want you to save your question if you have to, cut it. Okay, awesome. Are you ready to listen? Yes. Okay. All right, so you wanted to ask about the surgery?
Yeah, I don't have any specific, just generally, why? I would assume I would know why you did it, but in your own words, why did you do it? And then tell us a little about what you had done and the recovery time.
So I am almost 1 year post.
I saw that. Congrats.
Surgery. Yeah. So what I did was an abdominoplasty with diastasis recti correction, and this was a big decision, obviously. But what happened is my first child. I had a diastasis recti separation of my abs, but I also had a small umbilical hernia with him. I think part of it is genetics. Obviously, I'm fit. I'm small. My babies have always hung out straight and down. If you see some of my pictures pregnant, my belly's ridiculous. And it just genetically, I had a predisposition to poor connectivity issues of tissue. I have weak joints pretty much everywhere in my body, but this just was another connective tissue weakness that I had. And so I did get my umbilical hernia fixed. You're okay. I did get my umbilical hernia fixed with the first child, but unfortunately that didn't do anything looks wise. That just they just put a stitch in there. And an umbilical hernia, if you guys aren't familiar, is just your intestines poking through where your belly button would be normally. And so I think a lot of women might experience this, and they might see this and they're like, oh, what's happened? Now I'm an outie or whatnot instead of an innie. And my doctor was like, did you ever have a belly button? I'm like, yes, I had a belly button. I'm a normal human being with a belly button. That's just weird. Why would you ask me that? But it did basically look like an outie. Had the stretch marks. Not really. It wasn't really. I was surprised by that because I never thought I'd never had a stretch mark before pregnancy, so that wasn't something that I was used to dealing with. But I dealt with it. I closed my separation of my abs through exercise. I wasn't probably I definitely wasn't at the level of knowledge and base that I am now with postpartum care and fitness. But I just did the normal things with that first one, working out and lifting weights. And luckily, I did start learning more about diastasis recti and how to control my breath and tighten my transverse abdominis and try to use all of the muscles correctly. So that was an experience for me post the first child. And then having twins just completely destroyed anything that I had gained, because you can see if you go back on my Instagram page, I got the normal, I got the six-pack back, and I got my baby body back. I mean, I still had the little bulge of the umbilical hernia, and I had the stretch marks and stuff, but I had abs, and then I got pregnant again, and I got my twins. So it was a shock to the system. Again, I had a lot of I actually had a lot of pain growing the twins. Like there was some stretching that happened that was like super painful. People always ask me like, how did you stand up straight? And it was yeah, I did it. You know, you just adapt to things that you've had to deal with. And I went to 38 weeks plus with the twins, and the last week I did not sleep at all. Like I was on the couch and I couldn't lay back because like the positioning of the twins and the way my belly was, as soon as I did, like the weight would just collapse onto my lungs, and it was just so much pressure. And then as soon as I flipped from one side, because literally it was like straight out like this, when I flipped from side to side, it was the weirdest feeling. Like you could feel like the entirety of the baby's like shifting, and ended up that like my twins went breech while I was in labor, while I was 9 centimeters. So they were head down, and then they just completely flipped. And weirdest thing ever. I have a really weird like birth story, but it's basically that they flipped breech, and the doctor's like, well, do you want me to like, you know, just yank them out? And I'm like, yeah, no, it's 24 hours through labor, and I'm ready to be done with this.
Yeah.
I had told them, like again about the you know the medical professionals listening to us. That didn't happen for me. I told them like 24 hours before, like if I'm going to go through all of this and have a C-section at the end, just give me the C-section, because I had delivered naturally with my first, but like I didn't want to go through all of the pain and then have a C-section. It just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But they did not listen. They were like, oh, ha, 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 that's so funny. No, you're going to just get induced. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like, lady, take these babies out of me now. And I'm like, oh, no, wait. And so nobody would listen to me. And they ended up doing it anyways. And I was really sad about it. But the recovery wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Just also, again, armed with knowledge of like how to take care of the C-section scar, and I really took care of myself and said, like, you know, even for a fitness professional, and this is the people who I have to talk to the most about this, is you gotta slow down, you gotta ask for help, you gotta like let it be, you know. So yes, 6 weeks feels like the longest time when you're ready to go and you feel like you want to go exercise and get doing stuff and everything, but it's really necessary. And I took every moment and just relaxed and let the healing happen. And so I thought that was really important. But of course I still ended up with the diastasis recti pretty badly, as just because there were twins and that was what my body could handle. So the biggest thing I definitely did some rehab for my abs. I did physical therapy, I did pelvic floor therapy, and I did a lot of the things just from what I had learned over time on how to take care of that. And I have a super controlled transverse abdominis because of that. Like everything's tight. But then also I found myself tightening all the time just to avoid back pain and to avoid like not being able to breathe. Like there was so much pain going on because I had to brace my core all the time. So I had rib pain, I had back pain, I couldn't lift my kids, just, you know, and it was just constant, overwhelming, having to just think about it all the time. That was what consumed me, was, am I bracing my core right now just to pick up my kids? Am I doing this correctly? So for me, it was, I think it kind of an easy decision, in the sense of I think the biggest thing is that I love. What's that? Keegan did what? He did something. What? He did something to you? He eat you? No, it's me. Okay, can I help you in a second? I love you. All right. So, anyways, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
So, I think for me, I had to accept the body that I was in and really love myself the way I was. Because, yes, there was a ton of stretch marks. There was loose skin. There was all this stuff. And if you look back at my Instagram page and things like that, there was an acceptance that had to happen before surgery. Like, just love the body that you're in. Mm-hmm. I was so grateful that I was able to carry twins for 38 weeks. And I just had to really embrace that and love that, but be at that mindset first before going into a surgery, because this surgery wasn't for cosmetics, even though it did help the cosmetics. The surgery is just for functionality of my abs, and which is mind-blowing to me because insurance will not cover abdominoplasty for women.
They don't. It's insane.
Yeah, it's just crazy because I feel like you injure your knee, you're gonna get that connective tissue fixed surgically under insurance. But you injure your abs during birth, that's not covered. So that's a whole nother.
No. It is a whole thing, and I don't know if we have time. I don't know if you have time to talk about it today, but it is a real issue because DR happens with so many women, and so many women go untreated because whether it's a money issue or the insurance says, well, it's not that serious, so we're not paying for it. And so they say, okay, well, clearly it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. Your core is everything.
There was times I couldn't even drive because I couldn't turn the wheel because my abs hurt so bad just to even drive. There's daily activities of life I could not do because of the DR. And not everyone experiences pain with DR, but for me it was very, very painful. And so I don't understand why women's health is put into this box that no, we don't help women because that's cosmetic, and I don't understand that at all because it's not cosmetic, and even if it is, it should be looked on better. It shouldn't be something that we have to suffer through.
Even if it's cosmetic, it will actually probably mentally help the woman. Because It's such a mind fuck of because just one day, because for me, obviously it's different with twins, but for me, like my pregnancy, I was fine. It was postpartum that I felt like I was broken in half. And it was like one day you're fine and, you're walking the dog and you're having sex, everything's fine. And then the next day you're a whole different, you're two pieces basically. And it's like it's a real mind mess, and they just don't take it into consideration when your body isn't shattered.
Yeah, exactly. So we could go on and on about the lack of maternal health care in our society and in our country, but it's sad. I did go and I did try to get insurance to cover it, and I know many women who've tried to get insurance to cover it. It's not that bad of an issue, they say, or whatnot, and that's all cosmetic, but it's not. So anyways, I did make the decision to go with a surgeon here locally. Well, she's in Tucson, which is not necessarily locally to me, but she's a board certified plastic surgeon, and I went with that route versus I did my umbilical hernia with a general surgeon, and that didn't really do much in my mind. So the plastic surgery was the way I wanted to go. Plus, I was going to pay for it anyway, so might as well get it done the way I wanted.
Yeah.
And I do encourage people to meet with several people who they feel and see who they feel comfortable with. If you can get someone like my surgeon who is willing and able to text with you. She was texting with me. She was in my Instagram DMing me, like cheering me on. Like, she is amazing. I felt much more comfortable with a woman, but that's just me. And she's just a rock star. She was available at, midnight when I'm like, oh my gosh, my drain's doing this. Like, what do I do? And is this normal? Is this normal? So she was always there for me. And I don't see that being the experience for a lot of women. So if you can find someone like her, she's amazing.
And know that they do exist, obviously.
What's that? Yeah,
just for people to know they exist.
Yeah, exactly. So I did decide to do my surgery, and then a lot of people ask me about the recovery of the surgery, especially since I'm a fitness professional, and I was a fitness professional all the way up to the surgery. I took 2 weeks off of work, and then I was able to go back to some duties after 2 weeks, and then I didn't start working out again for 6 weeks. And then I think about 3 months, I was fully capable. And now, almost a year out, I have no pain. Like, right away was pretty much no pain. Like, the pain that I was feeling from DR, gone.
Amazing.
Right away. So the back pain and things like that I was feeling, I had like an immense pain on my rib cage that was just from like the fact that my rib cage was like flaring so much because there's no connective tissue to keep that rib cage in.
Wow.
So that was gone. So many things were so much better, and then by 3 months I could barely remember that I even had surgery. Like, everything was back to normal. I've always been able to do ab movements with the correctivity that I had built into my functionality of my workouts. But this one, now I feel much stronger with everything. I'm able to, just have the full function of my body, which is amazing to me. And I don't I literally don't think about it ever. Like, good. Now it's something I just was like, oh, I did that. I forgot. No. So there's, it's amazing to me. And I will preface that with not everyone has that experience, unfortunately, with their abdominoplasty. Some people have lots of swelling for long periods of time. But I think my biggest tip, and the thing that my surgeon also said that helped me, was just being able to do the work pre-op, like to be able to close the gap. And if you look back at my pictures, I was completely able to close my gap, engage my abs, and it's just a total mind thing. Like, you literally have to sit there with your hand over your abs and think, okay, abs, work. Like, you have to connect your mind back to where that part of your body is, because it's so stretched out that your mind loses the connection with your abs. So that for me was just connecting back to where my abs were, and I had to do that post-op as well. But once that's back and normal and functioning, then you're good to go. So what other questions do you have about it? Or did I miss something?
No. I think that it's so valid, because you also being in fitness, and myself, I see it so much where people don't have the mind-body connection. So it's very easy for people to just go through the motions. Where with this, you really have to connect. This is the other one. You really have to connect your mind with your body. and you see people, or before you would see people when you're training people or whatever, they don't always connect. They just want to go through the motions, is what I was saying.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and I think also to caution people not to just snap back into stuff, either postpartum or post abdominoplasty, because doing all the fun stuff is awesome, but it's not something you need to just hop back into. Like I love fitness so much, but I caution everyone to not overdo it. Like, you just give yourself so much grace. Like, you just had a baby, or you just had a major surgery. Let yourself heal. That's like my number one thing that I love to come on to podcasts for. And it's crazy because I don't hear this enough from fitness professionals. And I also don't, I don't think it's something that people want to say, but I'm like, just give yourself grace. And every time I have a personal training client, they're like, oh, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, first we got to do baby steps, so let's start here. And if you don't master the basics, like being able to mentally control your abs and just breathe correctly, don't go any further than that. Like, don't even try a jumping jack until you do pelvic floor therapy. Like, don't even try anything. I'm sorry. I know you want to get there. I know you want to lose the weight, and I know you want to do this and that. But you gotta have the basics. So that's like my biggest tip to people.
Yeah, no, it's true. And the other part of that, and I think you have to let your body recover. Right? So like starting where you are rather than trying to bite off more than you could chew. And it's the same. I totally agree. The recovery is just as important as the work. Like, you need to let your body recover and heal, and this is a whole nother talk about fitness and working out, whatever. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's hard to convince people this, because they think when you truly have to convince them, no, please just let's start here. I promise I know what I'm doing. I promise you I know how this works.
I know you would not believe how much pushback I get for people when I say, just balance on one foot and see where it goes. Like, literally, they're like, what? I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I just want to do this. It's like, well, you can't balance on one foot, so we're going to have to start there. So
I know. I know. It's
so
crazy.
Many things in life that you need, you need the foundations before you can build anywhere else.
It is, that resonates with me so much. Oh my, I can't even tell you.
But people think like you're like, oh, you're like a lame for like personal trainer because I'm just doing this little tiny movement. I'm like, trust me, that little tiny movement's gonna save your life. You're gonna step off a curb and you're gonna thank me for being able to catch yourself.
Yeah.
So
100%. No, it's really about the basic fundamental things. Okay, so you had your DR stitched up. You had, what else? Because I know there's a couple things that I'm sure women, and maybe even men, because I think that this also applies to men who are just tremendously overweight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it could happen to anyone, and so diastasis recti could happen to anyone, and yes, overweight at that, the dramatic weight loss that happens when your skin doesn't go away, all that stuff doesn't go away. So definitely could be important for all different types of people. But anyway, so she basically took a stitch and stitched all the way from one rectal muscle to the other side, and it's just kind of like a shoelace stitch all the way down. I'll
post the video here,
okay,
so people can see, because
if they want to see it, it's kind of gross. But she was able to keep my belly button, which is always a question. It's not always something that they can do. But basically she was able to save it, just the blood supply kept to it, and she was able to go quick enough that she was able to do that, which I'm super thankful for. But it's no longer an outie, it's a mammy now. And they do all the suturing inside. The sutures stay in. Mine were not dissolvable sutures. They will always be there. Since I'm small and I have thin skin and not that much body fat, you may be able to kind of feel the stitches, but I can't really. Like, I don't have much, like, I can't really figure out that they're there. You don't really tell anything like that. Then she pull the skin down, and you make triangular cuts to connect to just to get some of the skin off, and then they resuture you up, basically like a C-section scar, but mine's hip to hip now. So sometimes I've seen that they've had to make an incision or make it sewn up a little bit, so there's like a T-shape scar, but mine was just one line all the way across. She did a beautiful job with that. I did get like some scar, scar cream and the scar removal stuff that helped a little bit, but scars don't bother me. Like, that's just like the way of, like, this is my war marks. Like, I'm a survivor of this. Not to say that it was something traumatic or anything. Like, I just think, like, I have it so much better than so many people who are struggling with real things. Like, this is nothing to me. So that's pretty much it. And then trying to think what else that she did. You have one drain. I had one drain. Sometimes you have two. A drain is just to help to like release some of the bloods and fluids that build up. And that was probably the most annoying part. Basically, you have like a piece of plastic sticking out of your skin, and that was it. It was really annoying. That comes out within a week or so, and then I had to wear a brace for a good 6 weeks. I used a specific type of brace because the hospital brace, like they give you after birth and things like that, didn't really do it for me. But I used a nice secure brace, and I slept in it. It was 24 hours, like all the time, and unless I was taking a shower. That helped with some of the swelling. And then after that, for a little while, I even wore the compression, like shorts, full body compression, which I also suggest both of those things for postpartum, especially if you had a C-section, just to get rid of all of the swelling and to kind of normalize that area as well. So those are good for either of those situations.
It's such an interesting thing because I think that you explain why you did this, and obviously the effect has been mentally, physically, it's overall just better. So it's like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you do it unless for whatever reason you didn't have the means to? And I feel like I should put it out there that even if women want to do it because they want to do it, it shouldn't be shamed. Like
100%.
Even if it doesn't really affect their life, they just have the loose skin, or they're like, it shouldn't be frowned upon, because it almost just seems like on social media you see celebrities, some celebrities are very open about doing this and doing that, and their followers or their supporters are like, you go girl, yeah, get it, whatever. And then when a normal person does it, it's like, well, why are you so vain? Yeah. And it's like, I feel like this should really be, I'm happy that we're talking about it, aside from it's very interesting, and I'm very, very happy that I can share and learn about this, but I do think that it should be very, very normalized. It just boggles me.
it is kind of nerve wracking, especially being a fitness professional. Like I know several fitness professionals who've done the surgery themselves too. But it's like, or in the at the other on the other side, I know some fitness professionals who think, if I do this, then I'm less than, before, because so it's hard. It's a mind, like, mess
Yeah.
up, because you said they, we are these people who are preaching, and for me at least, I'm preaching self-love. And like I
Right.
said, I had to be from a place of self-love, and I'm preaching, fitness postpartum, and I'm preaching all of these things. And then a lot of people think and see abdominoplasty as the easy way out. It's not. It's not the easy way out.
Mm-mm.
This is a huge deal for my life, financially, emotionally, like you said, and physically. For my life, it wasn't the easy way out. But there's no shame. There is no shame in wanting less pain in your life.
Yeah.
There's no shame in that.
I feel like we could talk a lot more, but I know I have to go, you have to go. It's okay. The last question I have, and I don't know if you're comfortable answering, I hope you are, what roundabout, and I'm sure it's different state by state or where you go, what does that cost?
So the abdominoplasty with the diastasis recti correction for me, was about $6,000.
Okay.
Which I think is completely worth it.
Totally, it's totally
I've
reasonable.
Yes, but I've seen it different, like from different places. So it's not all. Your tummy. It's not all the same everywhere. So.
That's okay.
Your teeth, yes. So, I've seen it range from 12,000 to 6,000 or more.
Yeah.
So it just depends on who you go to, who you trust, and I say get a lot of different consults, and that's another thing, is consults cost money. So if you could find someone who's willing to do maybe a virtual or free consult, that's what my doctor ended up doing. But I've gone to other doctors who charge just to be in the office,
Right.
and to take pictures of you. And I'm like, I don't want to pay money just to meet you.
Yeah.
So that's a personal choice. Your teeth? Kiss your teeth? Okay. You hurt your tooth? I can't kiss it inside your mouth. Why? Because I can't reach.
So last thing, do you have anything else you want to share or comment?
No, so grateful that you reached out to me. I love connecting on social media. If you guys, I don't know if you're going to put a link to the
I will,
Instagram
of course.
page where I do all my stuff. I'm not currently doing much business-wise, obviously, just taking care of my fit family and my home here. But I love to share on there. My stories are kind of where it's at. Like, I kind of just share away, like way too much information probably.
No, but it's so necessary.
But it's just, if you want to see someone else that is going through stuff, that's what I share, and I try to keep it as real as possible. There's a lot of things that I really, truly am passionate about: postpartum care, postpartum depression, fitness, and family, and things like that. So try to throw in a little humor and positivity in there as well every once in a while. But I hope you guys are able to connect with me. I always try to answer every direct message, and if you guys have questions about the surgery or questions about anything, twins or whatever you have questions about, then definitely reach out to me.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask. Because I think that carrying twins and postpartum is so, I'm sure, different than, you could say because you've done both, but are you taking clients virtually?
I don't have any plans right now to take clients virtually. I might eventually. Right now, I'm doing classes towards my physical therapy degree, so it's a lot.
You're on full
I'm a
drop,
busy
yeah.
lady.
Totally. No,
But
I get
if
that.
you have a specific question, I'm open to doing those, to helping out however I can. Obviously, I refer to fitness professionals like yourself, like, you know, people who are willing, and I know there's tons of people willing and able to be to, you know, inspire and motivate you. I'm here to just, you know, post my daily workouts and say, hey, I was here, and if you guys want to join me, you should do it too. Like, I'm just doing Beachbody online workouts. Like, I'm just doing it like a regular, normal, everyday person, trying to get my motivation in how I can.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's a wild time, and I mean, it's amazing. And I think that for people to look at you and your story and see just how much you could juggle, it's inspiring because, you know, I know that women and wives and everyone's juggling and figuring it out, but you really seem like you got it. You're focused.
Thank you. I don't feel like it always, and like I said, I don't talk enough about postpartum depression, but definitely something that I am passionate about, and that's something that I have struggled with myself, postpartum and depression and anxiety. So if you see me disappear from my stories, that's probably where I'm at, and then I'll come back on. But I try to keep it positive, keep it light in there.
Well, maybe we'll look for a post coming soon about that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
If I'm trying to get as vulnerable as possible. Social media is hard. Social media, people are mean. But that vulnerability, my post that I posted with me crying, that's the most, you know, vulnerable I could ever get and have ever gotten on social media. That one went viral. Obviously, people needed it, but people are mean. People are very, very mean. So there is a lot of, and you know, I can get a million comments a day about how inspirational and how great it is and awesome, and then I'll get that one comment.
That asshole comment.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
like,
why do you come onto people's pages? And I can talk a whole podcast about, like, why do people feel like they can just, you know, tear down somebody that they've never met?
Why?
Yeah, I don't get it. But I encourage people to just try to keep positive and try not to say something if you don't really need to say it.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like the basic thing that you teach your kids. If you have nothing nice to say nothing at all.
Yeah.
Why can't adults do it?
Yeah. So I actually had someone post that on my post about that. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm not sure why I have to stop saying, but I don't think I'm saying anything negative, but it's okay. You just don't look at it, but okay.
You're like, you have the option to not follow me.
I know. It's like,
I'm not requesting my followers. You're choosing to follow me.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. But I just sit back and watch sometimes, and I'm like, I'm like, okay, whatever, you know.
That's it. That's all you can do.
You.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I know that it's very precious. It was very, very nice to meet you. We'll have to do another one, hopefully in the future. Maybe once you get your degree, because then you could share about that. That's so exciting.
Oh, yeah.
And be well and stay well. And yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. And I wish you all the luck in New York and all the fun stuff over there. Hopefully we can get through this virus together, and we'll have much more fun times in the future. And I want to come back to New York so bad. I miss it.
Whenever you're here, let me know. We'll meet up. We'll do a play date.
Love it.
Definitely.
Awesome. We'll do workout.
Deal. Done.